Hurricane Helene, a powerful Category 4 storm, made landfall in Florida's Big Bend region. The storm brought devastating winds reaching speeds of up to 150 miles per hour. The storm surge, a massive wall of water pushed ashore, inundated coastal communities, reaching heights of up to 20 feet. This caused widespread flooding, submerging streets and homes, and eroding beaches. Downed power lines left millions without electricity, and trees were uprooted, blocking roads. The storm quickly weakened as it moved inland, but the damage was already done. The combination of wind, surge, and flooding caused significant damage and disruption. The recovery process was expected to be long and arduous. The initial impact of Hurricane Helene left communities reeling from the devastation. Hurricane Helene caused widespread power outages across Florida. Millions of residents were left without electricity in the storm's aftermath. Downed power lines and damaged substations contributed to the extensive outages. Roads were flooded and blocked by debris, making travel difficult. Bridges were damaged, cutting off access to some areas. Communication systems were disrupted, hindering rescue and recovery efforts. Without electricity, homes lacked air conditioning, food spoiled, and businesses closed. Hospitals relied on backup generators to maintain essential services. Crews worked around the clock to clear debris, repair power lines, and restore essential services. The full extent of the damage to infrastructure and the cost of repairs were still being assessed.
Hurricane Helene brought torrential rainfall, causing widespread flooding across Florida. Coastal communities were particularly hard hit, as storm surge exacerbated the flooding. Rivers and streams overflowed their banks, inundating low-lying areas. Mandatory evacuations were ordered for coastal areas ahead of the storm. Thousands of residents sought shelter in safer locations. Emergency responders braved treacherous conditions to save those stranded by floodwaters. Boats, helicopters, and high-water vehicles were used to reach people trapped in their homes. The swift actions of rescuers saved countless lives. The flooding also contaminated water supplies and created health hazards. The recovery from the flooding was expected to be a long and challenging process.
Section 4. Emergency Response and Preparedness. The emergency response to Hurricane Helene was swift and coordinated. Local, state, and federal agencies worked together to provide assistance. Emergency responders were deployed to conduct search and rescue operations, provide medical care, and distribute supplies. Prior to the storm's arrival, evacuation orders were issued and shelters were opened. Residents were urged to stock up on essential supplies. The National Hurricane Center provided regular updates on the storm's track and intensity. This information allowed residents to make informed decisions about their safety. The coordinated emergency response and preparedness efforts helped mitigate the impact of Hurricane Helene. The lessons learned from Hurricane Helene will be valuable in preparing for future storms.
Section 5. Economic Consequences. Hurricane Helene had a significant economic impact on Florida. The storm caused billions of dollars in damage to homes, businesses, and infrastructure. The agricultural sector was particularly hard hit, with crops destroyed and livestock lost. The fishing industry was also affected, as the storm disrupted fishing activities and damaged boats. The insurance industry faced a surge in claims following the hurricane. Homeowners and businesses filed claims for damages caused by wind, flooding, and storm surge. The long-term economic consequences of Hurricane Helene were still being assessed. The cost of rebuilding and recovering from the storm would require significant investment and resources. The economic recovery would be a long and challenging process.
Section 6. Environmental Impact. Hurricane Helene had a profound environmental impact on Florida's ecosystems. The storm surge and flooding caused erosion and damage to coastal habitats, including beaches, dunes, and wetlands. The storm also impacted marine life, displacing fish and other aquatic creatures. The influx of fresh water from heavy rainfall altered salinity levels in estuaries and coastal waters. The storm's high winds uprooted trees and damaged forests, leading to habitat loss for wildlife. The debris carried by floodwaters, including pollutants and chemicals, contaminated waterways. The long-term environmental consequences of Hurricane Helene were still being studied. The environmental damage highlighted the vulnerability of natural systems to extreme weather events. The restoration of damaged ecosystems would be crucial for maintaining the health and resilience of Florida's environment.